There are so many amazing scenes in this series that I really didn't know where to start. So I thought I would start at the scene which I felt was the moment when the two of them connect at a personal level for the first time in the series. When they lay aside the snark and they just have a conversation as real people. Ruby, surprisingly, is the one that makes the first overture. And it's interesting that she makes the decision to apologize to him for her bad behavior during a class. A lot of people would have said, well, you started this, your behavior is far worse, so I'm completely justified in retaliating in a proportionate manner, and I don't need to apologize. And it's a testament, I suppose, to her own values and the way perhaps she's been raised, that she's decided, no, even though you've behaved badly, that doesn't mean that I behave badly. It also doesn't mean that she apologizes for his behavior or excuses his behavior, but I think her act of going to him and being honest and speaking about this completely disarms him, and perhaps it is in its own way an invitation for him to reassess his own conduct and perhaps reconsider the things that he has done and said. I love how beautifully this scene is shot and that they've taken the time to allow the conversation to happen. There's not just a dramatic cut. He's by himself in a field practicing because he's been thrown off the lacrosse team, so can't practice with the others. I love the way Ruby walks across, looking very brave because obviously this is a big thing, and the way he turns his head to see her. He, of course, immediately starts out with a snarky comment, and she could back off, but she doesn't, and she decides to persist. And he still continues to portray this cool persona and doesn't even look at her. But when she blurts out an apology, you can see that it's struck him like a ton of bricks, and he's completely disarmed. And he cannot believe that she's apologizing.
Natürlich ist sie das.
And he even sort of is still a bit flippant about it. But she's said her piece and she walks off, and you can see that he doesn't want to let her go. And so he tries to continue the conversation. And so she's willing to continue as well, and she returns. And they actually have a genuine conversation. It is their first real conversation where there's no snark. And it's quite sweet and it's quite funny in the way they both look at one another like this.
Man kann eben nicht immer gewinnen.
And even though they're just talking about a dress and they're really not saying very much at all, you suddenly get the sense that their relationship is going to be very different going forward. And then when she gives him the finger, I mean, he might as well have heart eyes staring after her as she walks away from him. This is definitely one of my favourite scenes of the series, and I have rewatched it a few times. I genuinely like the fact that James is set up as a character that might have been resistant and defensive and kind of an obnoxious snot, but as soon as he realises that he's wrong and that Ruby is actually someone that he could really care about, he's all in. He doesn't have doubts anymore. The reasons why they might not be together are essentially external factors. They're not because he has doubts about her or their relationship or his feelings about her. So I think that's incredibly powerful. And I think that in this scene as well, we see that she's definitely starting to like him as well. And it's just a really, really nice scene. It's also beautifully shot, if you think about it. They look lovely. The actor that plays James is not really the sort of person that I'd normally go for, but in this particular scene, I think he looks extremely lovable, and I think Ruby looks extremely lovable and endearing as well. And I really started to want them to get together from about this scene onwards. Because before now, I'd been thinking, they've made James pretty unlikable. I'm not quite sure whether I'm going to be on board when they eventually get together as a couple. So I think this was a fairly important scene to make me want them to be together.